Okay, this is going to be a quick tutorial on the new purchase order copy lines feature that's been written into Sage 100. This feature is very similar to the sales order copy lines feature that we've talked about previously. The main reason you'd want to use a copy lines button within Sage 100 on purchase orders is when you have an existing purchase order that you just want to pull individual lines from a sales order or multiple sales orders or even purchase order histories into that purchase order that already has lines on there. Because again, with the built-in Sage copy from button, it copies an entire entity, an entire purchase order, an entire purchase order from history, and it replaces everything. It copies the header information and all the lines. And once you do it once, you can't do it more than once. So as soon as you've copied it one time, it made a copy of that original order, and you're done with the copying. So this has sort of replaced all of that, and will be really good for when you need to add sales order lines into an existing purchase order and tie those lines together so that when you get your back order fill reports, it references the correct sales order, so you know how to fill that order. So let's just jump right into it. I've got an existing sales order that I have already written up here, and this sales order has got a few lines on it, a non-stock item, a Spears item, and an NDS item. And just as an example, I have not back ordered the non-stock item, and I'll show you why in a second. And you can see I've only back ordered partial of this Spears item, this 1-inch coupling, and I've back ordered the entirety of the NDS item. So let me get out of that. And so, for example, if say I wanted to order a Spear, those two Spears items, the non-stock was a Spears and that coupling. But I don't want to create a brand new purchase order. I want to add to an existing purchase order. My existing purchase order is 31. Okay, so you can see this purchase order has some lines on it already. This is a normal stocking order, and I just want to add those lines to it. In the past, you'd have to copy each field individually, copy the line, the item code, how many you want, all those things, and it gets really tedious especially for non-stock items. And you'd have to go to both sides, the sales order side and the purchase order side, and tie those together with the sales order and purchase order number respectively. So what you can do now is, and again, very similar to how the sales order copy from button works, when you click this copy from button, instead of just immediately going to the entire order copy that was built into Sage, it asks you what you'd like to copy. And if you click entire order, it'll let you, but we don't want to do that in this case. So if you click copy from, click on the lines tab or the lines button, it will take you to this screen here, which is very similar again to the sales order one, but the options are a little different. For copying into a purchase order, you can either copy from a sales order or you can copy from a purchase order from history. And in this case, we wanted to do that sales order. So let's do the sales order lookup so we can get the line numbers. And my sales order was 19255. And I can see my line numbers here. So what I would like to do is I'll just drag this over here so I can kind of reference off of the line numbers, is put the order number in there, and we'll put the line number in. Now when I hit copy line, it's going to go out and get all the information about that line and ask, are you sure you want to copy this item? If you say yes, and if you remember this one, I left the item unback ordered, and I did that to show you this. If you don't have anything in the back order column, if the back order column is 0, it'll still let you copy it. It'll just copy what's in the ordered column instead. Now you may want to go back and make that, edit the back order column in that sales order. But anyway, it'll copy it into your purchase order. It'll just let you know that, hey, there was nothing on back order. I'm going to use the quantity ordered instead. So I'll click OK on that. And then if I click done, it'll take me back to the lines tab. And you can see my new item here has been added. It's my non-stock item. And all my information is correct. Should be 1 on order. And the most important thing is, other than it being there, is it also ties this purchase order line to the sales order that it was copied from. And if I were to go and look at the sales order side, so if I just pull that sales, you don't have to do this, I'm just showing you as an example, but if you go back into the sales order, you'll see that this line, which I just copied, now has been also tied to this purchase order that I'm in right now. So it ties it on both ends. I just wanted to show that so that you would see that. I'll minimize that and get back into it. Okay, so say I wanted to copy those other 2 lines. I want to copy line 2. And again, this is the one that was a stock Spears item, but I only back ordered partial. So if I say copy line, I ordered 20, but I back ordered 10. If I say yes to that, the purchase order quantity will be what was back ordered if there's something in that back ordered column. So that's what you want. You don't want to order everything. You just want to order what's been back ordered. And one more thing I wanted to show was if I try to copy this NDS item that was line 3, it'll tell me that the item has a different vendor than the purchase order vendor that I'm currently in. And it'll let me continue. The default is no, and 9 times out of 10 you're not going to want to do that. That sort of doesn't make any sense, especially on stock items. It may make sense on some non-stocks where you could potentially get it from a couple different vendors, but either way, I wanted to leave the option to continue. So if I say yes, it will add this line into this purchase order. Again, not a good idea, but there are some instances where that would be useful. So I'm just going to delete that off of there. But so you can see how easy it is to copy from a sales order. So now if I go back into my sales order here, you can see that all these have been ordered. They're on that purchase order. Here's my NDS item. I've already deleted it off the purchase order, so I'll delete it off of here too, or the PO number off of there. But you can see it ties them together. And that was a couple clicks of the mouse. It was super simple. So the other option you can do for copy from into purchase orders is copy from an existing purchase order or a purchase order from history. Works very much the same way. You would just change the type from sales order to purchase order. I would do a purchase order lookup so that you can get the line number correct. And in this case, I've got a PO in mind that I know has a non-stock item on there. And this is from history. And so here's a couple non-stock items. These are Greenville non-stock items, but this is just to prove the point. So say I wanted to copy that item and order this CPVC union again. I would go here, change the order number to my purchase order number that I'm copying from, which is 7809, and I want to copy line number 1. It'll go out and find it. Same deal. I say yes. I say done. And you can see that it copied that item to my purchase order as well. There's really not much else to it. Again, the biggest thing is that it ties, when you copy from a sales order, it ties both ends together. So if, for example, you were to do this for a sales order and then you subsequently hit generate PO on that sales order, generate purchase order from sales order, it would not double order those items because if it has this purchase order number in that field, that item will not get put on a new order if you hit that generate purchase order button. So this will help prevent double ordering. It'll make data entry a lot easier, and it'll reduce mistakes when you're trying to transpose from a sales order to a purchase order. You're not having to do all that manually. If you have any questions, let me know. There's a few other error checking things in there, well, here's a good example. If I was to copy from a sales order again, and I'll copy from the exact same one because it sort of proves my point. If the line already has a purchase order tied to it and you try to copy it, it will tell you that it's already on a purchase order, and it'll even give you the purchase order number. In this case, it's the same purchase order that we're in. But say it was a different purchase order that something has already been ordered and you're trying to copy it, it'll say, hey, this is already on PO number 12345. If the sales order is still active and it hasn't been invoiced and it's not a sales order from history, the PO that's on that line that you copy will be overwritten if you continue and say yes to continue and actually copy the line. So that's a good little hint. And again, it will overwrite it if the sales order is still active. I'm going to say cancel on that because I don't need to order that item twice. But and the same thing with the sales order copy lines. If you don't give it a line number, it'll tell you have to give it a line number. If you don't give it an order number, it'll tell you have to give it an order number, so on and so forth. So there's a good little bit of error checking in here, and but other than that, it should be really easy to use, and hopefully it'll save everybody a lot of time. If you got any questions, again, just let me know. Thank you.